Hey guys, Chris here from Bikes, Brothers and Brews. Took a special trip today over to one of my favorite places, Iron Pony Motorsports, just outside of Columbus, Ohio. I'm here to test ride a couple bikes, but the trick is, I don't know what I'm riding today. See, I hit up Brett earlier this week, told him I was going to be in town and I'd like to test ride a couple bikes, but I didn't know what I want to ride. I am a cruiser rider, ridden a 2009 Yamaha V-Star 650. Also currently have a Vulcan Voyager, Kawasaki Vulcan Voyager 1700, and just want to get an idea of what some other bikes are like. So I hit him up and told him I wanted to test them out. Gave him some information on the type of bikes that I ride, and gave him an idea of what I sort of like to ride. So it's going to be 100% a surprise of what I'm going to ride today. So hope you enjoy my test ride, and I'm just as excited to see what Brett picked out for me. And it's a beautiful Saturday afternoon, mid-50s, it's overcast, and as you can probably hear over behind me, we have some people taking their motorcycle safety course. Reminds me of when I took mine 3 or 4 years ago. It was packed into a 3-day weekend. It was pretty fun, a little stressful at times because I was very new to motorcycles, but it was great. So, like I said, hope you enjoy this as much as I do. You are looking at the 2021 Triumph Street RRR Low. This bike packs a powerful engine into a small package. The liquid-cooled, inline 3-cylinder engine comes in at 765 cc with a reported 116 horsepower at 12,000 RPM and a reported 57 foot-pounds of torque at 9,400 RPM. It is fuel injected with a stainless steel 3-into-1 silenced exhaust system. It has a 6-speed transmission with Triumph's shift assist, and it is chain driven. The Street RRR Low has a wheelbase of 55.3 inches, an overall height of 41.1 inches, and a seat height of 30.7 inches, which is 1.77 inches lower than the base Street RRR. This motorcycle features ABS with twin floating disc brakes in front, a single caliper disc brake in the rear, and it has a rear monoshock beneath the seat. There are 4 riding modes, including rain and sport. It has a 4.6 gallon gas tank and weighs in at just 370 pounds dry. The Street RRR Low has more than 50 available accessories for customization, including protectors for the frame, swing arm and engine, a tank pad, a fly screen visor, fork protectors, aluminum front and rear brake fluid reservoirs, bar end mirrors, tank and tail luggage packs, and an aero silencer exhaust. This bike comes in 2 color schemes. You are looking at the matte silver ice, but it also comes in a sapphire black. Probably the best aspect is it has an MSRP of $10,800, which is far lower than what I was expecting out of a bike that packs this much punch. As I said in the beginning of the video, I was hoping that Brett had a couple bikes picked out for me to ride. Although that wasn't the case, I'm still pleased with getting to ride this Triumph Street RRR Low. Once Brett got me set up on the bike, I had to run out to my car real quick to drop some stuff off because I didn't want to take it with me. And then that's where I started my test ride. The first thing I did was ride through the parking lot a little bit to get used to, first of all, the size of the bike, how it turns, how it accelerates, the brakes and the clutch and everything like that before I went out on the road. Coming from a cruiser background, I was a little intimidated at first by the riding position with having more mid controls than what I was used to. Although I had to bend my knees more to get my feet on the foot pegs, which is another story for a little bit later, the overall riding position was not uncomfortable at all. It's something I could see myself taking longer rides on if I had a bike like this. Now about those foot pegs. When I took my motorcycle safety course, I rode a 250cc cruiser that had floorboards. My first motorcycle, which I actually bought before having learned how to ride it, was a 2009 Yamaha V-Star 650 that also had floorboards. And the bike I currently own, a 2011 Kawasaki Vulcan Voyager 1700, also has floorboards. So this was my first time getting to use foot pegs. It turned out to be a little bit easier than I imagined. The pegs themselves hooked nicely into the heels of my boots, and I didn't have any trouble reaching the shifter or the brake pedal. But there were some times when I was starting from a stoplight or a stop sign, I had trouble reaching the pegs. One thing I quickly noticed with this motorcycle is the size of the handlebars. They're a lot thinner than what I'm used to in terms of my cruisers, and this thing felt more like a bicycle, honestly, with how nimble it was, how small the handlebars are, and how quickly I could swerve in and out. I started this test ride in the bike's ride mode, and even with that, the throttle response was pretty quick. In this clip here, I got on it a little bit before I noticed a police officer off to the right here. Not really knowing the speed limit, I didn't want to blow past him. One thing about this test ride is I live a couple hours away from Iron Pony, so I'm not entirely familiar with the area. You can see my phone on the handlebars there, and I had to GPS myself to certain locations that I wanted to take this bike, first of all for pictures, but also kind of get an idea of some roads I wanted to take. And because I wasn't too familiar with the roads, I didn't necessarily be a little more aggressive on this bike than I could have been had I been familiar with the roads and the turns and traffic and where I was going. Where I live in West Ohio, it's a pretty rural area, so the roads are flat and really straight. It was nice to get out in this area where the roads have some elevation change and also some curves. Among the area places I had looked for in which to ride to as well as shoot pictures, I stopped at the Inniswood Metro Gardens. Lo and behold, it had one of the perfect places to stop the motorcycle and shoot some pictures. After I left Inniswood, I picked a random spot on the map in which I had to take a highway to get there. I was dying to see what this bike could do on the highway, and once I left the gardens, I also switched it into sport mode so I could experience that as well. And let me tell you, if I had this bike and I had sport mode, I'd get in some pretty big trouble. As I said before, I wasn't too familiar with the area, so when I got on this highway, I didn't know that I had to cross 4 lanes of traffic. And this silver SUV next to me, I wasn't quite sure what it was trying to do, whether it was going to let me jump in front of it or if I had to go behind it. I let it go in front of me, and once I realized I was running out of room to merge, the sport mode and the throttle response got me over there pretty quickly, and nicely too. Once I was on the interstate, I had to see what this bike could do. I'm used to motorcycles that redline about 7,000 or 8,000 RPM, and I was pretty excited to see that this one doesn't redline until 13,000 RPM. And honestly, it's pretty comfortable revving at 7,000 or 8,000 RPM. It was at this point too that I realized it has blue light indicators on the tachometer to let you know that you're getting close to redline. And honestly, this being my first ride with a sport bike, sometimes it felt like the bike was going to explode about 7,000 or 8,000 RPMs because it just sounded like it was screaming. Tend to brake a lot later than normal, but this time I did it on purpose because I wanted to check out the brakes, and they weren't too squishy, weren't too firm, they were just perfect, something you'd expect from a brand new motorcycle. Initially, I was going to ride a 2016 Ducati Monster because I had had the opportunity to ride one a couple years ago. A friend of a friend had one and he was going to let me ride it, but at the time I wasn't exactly in the best frame of mind in terms of my skills as a rider, and I didn't want to risk my life or risk dropping his bike or crashing it and getting hurt. So I didn't actually ride it that day. When I met with Brett at Iron Pony, he told me to go check out the used showroom and pick out any bike that I wanted to try because those were all ready to go for test rides. And I saw that they had the 2016 Ducati Monster, and I was pretty excited to jump on something like that. And when I went back to where Brett was in the Triumph showroom and told him that I wanted to ride the Monster, he had told me that the Triumph Street Triple R was just as comparable as a motorcycle, and there was another guy who had just brought in their demo version from his own test ride, and Brett told me to just hop on that. So I sat on it and immediately knew that that was the bike that I wanted to ride that day. The longer I rode this motorcycle, the more comfortable I became with it, and the more fun I was having as each mile passed by. But I needed to get back because I had other things I needed to do. Although I had no time or mileage restrictions in terms of this test ride, I made my way back to Iron Pony, but tried to make sure I didn't take the straight route there. All in all, the 2021 Triumph Street Triple R Low is a great bike. It fit my 5' 9" frame perfectly. I had no problem putting my feet flat on the ground, and the seat was comfortable. Like I said, once I got used to the riding position, I had no problems whatsoever. And for the next few days, I was talking about this test ride to anybody that would listen. In terms of size and weight of this motorcycle, it would definitely be something that I would recommend for somebody who is new into riding. However, the power behind the engine may be a little too much at first. I'll admit I was even a little intimidated when I took this out at first. Is this a bike I would recommend to others? Absolutely, even if you're not entirely familiar with riding sport bikes. Well, I hope you enjoyed my first test ride video. Big shout out to Brett at Iron Pony Motorsports for giving me this opportunity. Be sure to check them out if you're ever in the Columbus area. If you haven't already, please be sure to hit that subscribe button for future content from Bikes, Brothers, and Brews. Thanks for watching, ride safely, and until next time.